You're on The Bert Show.
Time to get buzzed on the hot goss from Hollywood with Abby. It's the Bert Show's entertainment buzz.
17 years ago, people were lined up anticipating the release of the final Harry Potter book. And then there was the release of the Twilight books and films. And now it looks like we have another author to add to the ranks. So Sarah J. Maas is the author of those smutty fairy books that Cassie and I are always talking about. And she just released a third one. And fans have been lining up at midnight at bookstores to be able to get it. It came out on Tuesday.
They're rabid.
They are rabid for the smutty fairy books. People were throwing release parties at midnight. I mean, it was a rager for the book. Reading is back. Reading is back.
It never left.
No.
Yeah, well,
Subtitles are in. Reading, that's out.
You know what it reminds me of? I mean, there was like a huge, like with 50 Shades of Grey over a decade ago. I mean, that book got some serious buzz.
So these are just books, right? These are not movies? Because I think when the movie 50 Shades of Grey came out, because of our demographic, honestly, I know this sounds like crap, but it's true. I'm like, so many of our listeners are watching it. I at least got to check it out to see what the thing is all about. And I did. But reading a whole book here to find out what the attachment is, I don't got that in me.
Just to give you some perspective, the first copy of 50 Shades of Grey sold 15 million. Sarah J. Maas's books, and she's written quite a few. There are 3 series, have sold 38 million.
Dang.
So far.
Mm-hmm.
It's once you read one series, you're hooked for all of them. And they are, we make fun of it. We call them our smutty fairy porn books. And there are spicy scenes in some of them, but really, like, it is so minimal compared to the rest of the storytelling and the characters that you attach to. If you're looking for something, start with A Court of Thorns and Roses.
When I was done with 50 Shades of Grey, I'm going to offend. I'm just going to go for it. When I was done with 50 Shades of Grey, I thought, okay, this is a movie and these are books for women that are frustrated in their own relationships. I made a general judgment and opinion about that. Could the same be said, or is that a not diagnosis, misopinion on the first one? And then is it offensive for the same question for this?
Both, I would say. But you're entitled to your opinion. I think for me, reading 50 Shades of Grey, the main character is written as very beige without strong interests. So you as the reader could insert yourself into her shell, essentially, and have an escape. And I think there's more conversation around that book is more about sex, and there's more conversation about women's pleasure that comes out of that series. This series features very strong female characters who are well respected by men, but the men are heartthrobs in and of themselves. It's about mutual respect, and there are so many heroines that come out of it, and it's just about badass women, and they're super hot fairy boyfriends, and it is chef's kiss.
No, so as I remember having this discussion years ago when the 50 Shades of Grey phenomenon happened, and I read the books and I watched the movie, and I enjoyed the books. I think, and I've started reading A Court of Thorns and Roses, and hands down, she's a better author. She's a better writer than the author of the 50 Shades of Grey books. There's no doubt about it. For me, it wasn't what I was missing in the bedroom. I don't want any of that stuff in the bedroom that they were doing or they were talking about. It was just fun to be a part of this fantasy. So it wasn't that something was lacking. I didn't want that, but it was just fun to be a part of that and be a voyeur of it.
Did it start to make you think that was something that you did want to experiment with?
Absolutely not. Never once.
No.
There's no crops coming in our bedroom.
It's just escapism, and I think women really appreciate good storytelling as well, which Sarah J. Maas does. I don't want to minimize it just to the sexy parts, but I will say she went on the Today Show to talk about, this book that she's released, and Jenna Bush Hager asked her, okay, well, what is it like when your mother-in-law, for example, asked you about a certain scene? And this is what she had to say about her and her husband.
One of the most mortifying moments of my career was my mother-in-law pulled me aside. She goes, "Were all those steamy scenes inspired by you and Josh?" I wanted to just walk into traffic. I was like, I was like, no, Linda, we're not.
I'm blushing just imagining that.
I've been with him for over half of my life now. He was my first boyfriend, my first anything. But I think I can write about true love because I get to live that every day.
I would never be able to look my mother-in-law in the eye ever again.
Because that means while she was reading the book, she was picturing you and her son in those scenes.
As a boy mom, I would never be able to look at my son's future partner and ask that question.
I completely agree. But also, I think if I let's say I end up having kids and, one of them's a son, I don't know that I could read my daughter-in-law's material knowing there was going to be some sexiness in it because I just think that would make me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I would.
No, I would. I want the advanced copy.
Will you bring in one of those books for me tomorrow?
A Court of Thorns and Roses?
Yeah.
Yes, I will.
You gonna start reading it?
I want to check it out. I mean, if there are so many women that are reading it, that's our audience. I should have some kind of working.
Can I make a suggestion?
Don't read it.
No, you should, but why don't you try? There's a really good audiobook, and it's made to sound like a movie. So there are different actors playing the different parts. There are sound effects, and they are great to listen to on drives.
Sure.
Cassie doesn't think you can read.
I just want him to stay engaged because it's such a good story.
And Cassie got me the book because she wanted me to join this
I have bought
cult.
11 copies for people because I love it so
Seriously,
much.
I'm buying all these self-help books for people. Like the 4-Hour Body.
Give me the bad boys and their wings.
This will do more for your mental health than Atomic Habits ever will.
It is an ACOTAR cult, okay? But it takes a hot minute to get to any of those scenes because it is more about the story, not about those scenes. So if you're reading it just to get to like the juicy bits, you're going to have to make it to at least chapter 9, if not 10.
So that's not my intention of reading it. Honestly, it was the same thing as 50 Shades of Grey. I was just trying to figure out, like, when you're scratching at the surface, what are women so attracted to
people
about
are
that
scratching
movie?
some, all right.
Yeah, it's a slowish start, but once you power through, it's so good.
Okay, all right.
For more stories, head to the Bert Show podcast on your favorite listening platform.
You're on The Bert Show.